playground dispute, a child's anger.
How young is too young to kill?
This is the story of Carl Newton Mahan.
And a single gunshot that shocked the world. Ending. Today, we tell the story of Carl Newton Mahan, the boy who pulled the trigger at just 6 years old. It was 1929, Paintsville, Kentucky. 2 boys, Carl, just 6, and his friend, 8-year-old Cecil Van Hoos. They got into a fight over a piece of scrap metal. The Great Depression loomed large. Families were struggling. Scrap metal wasn't trash. It was survival. Carl lived in a modest home with his parents. No electricity, no running water. But what he did have was access to a loaded gun. It started as a typical afternoon. Carl and his friend Cecil Van Hoos argued over the piece of scrap metal. Cecil took it. Carl didn't like that. The fight ended quickly, leaving Carl with a bruised face. It seemed innocent, the kind of disagreement kids have every day, but what happened next was anything but. Carl ran home. He knew exactly where his father kept a .32 caliber pistol. He came back, and without hesitation, he shot Cecil in the chest. Cecil didn't survive. Carl was arrested and charged with murder at 6 years old. Let that sink in. A child who can barely spell his name, arrested. He told the judge, "I didn't mean to shoot him. I just wanted to scare him." But it didn't matter. Carl was found guilty of manslaughter and sentenced to 15 years in reform school. Imagine the sight, a child barely out of kindergarten standing trial. The courtroom was packed. Whispers filled the halls. Reporters took notes furiously. Mothers clutched their own children tighter that night. Newspapers across the country printed headlines like, "6-year-old boy sentenced for murder." Reform school in 1929 wasn't summer camp. It was punishment. Discipline through labor, harsh correction, cold food, cold treatment. And Carl was the smallest inmate there. Public outrage followed. Letters poured into Kentucky's courts. Thousands demanded Carl's release. Psychologists, pastors, even teachers wrote in protest. He's just a boy. He doesn't know what death means. Just weeks later, Carl was released. And his record? Wiped clean. But freedom didn't mean peace. Carl's name had made headlines across the nation. The weight of what happened and the glare of unwanted attention was too much for one family to bear. Reports suggest that shortly after his release, Carl was sent to live with relatives, possibly an aunt, to shield him from the media and the public eye. A quiet exile for a boy who had become a national symbol of something the law couldn't fully define. But the stain of that day never left him. Carl's life was marked by trauma, whispers, and mystery. Some say he tried to live quietly. Others say he struggled his whole life with what he had done. Carl would die young, at just the age of 35, with a childhood lost too soon. From there, the trail goes cold. So, what do you think? Should a 6-year-old be held accountable like an adult? Was Carl a killer or a confused child in a broken system? This is Too Young to Kill, a series that dives into the haunting, real-life stories of the world's youngest perpetrators. Hit subscribe, Because next, we're heading to 1968 to meet 11-year-old Mary Bell, Britain's youngest female killer.